Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 3 of the Zero to Hero Challenge. This will be the first episode with some Mythic Plus, some Torghast runs, so buckle up. I did a lot. I got really nice upgrades on a couple pieces. I'm still lacking a couple upgrades, but I think here in the near future we'll have it, so let's get right into it. Boy, this clip brings back some memories here. I was trying to get in a Tazavesh, just a regular one, to see if I could, tank a Mythic. Second off, get all 8 bosses, because it gives me 8 chances at loot without even having to go through a world tour of the old ones. Because the old ones are a little bit harder to get a group for. I just recorded me getting invited to the group, and then here's right after the group getting started, and I forgot to hit the record as soon as we pulled. So here we go. Got to clear the trash up to this first boss. In case you guys have not ever done this dungeon, in case there are some people out here that are actually learning, it's very important to remember that this Portalmancer guy here, he is not the first boss. He is like almost like a containment cell that he's holding the first boss in. So as soon as you kill this guy, the actual boss comes out. And the actual boss isn't too hard. There's only a couple mechanics he's got. This Portalmancer guy doesn't do much at all. He's just a waste of your time, really. This OpenX guy here, he does a containment cell mechanic. You'll see it on the Demon Hunter, this pull here. And again, they talk quite a lot throughout this dungeon. And the Warlock over here asked to share the weekly. I'm not very sure why he asked to share the weekly, because it's a pet week, or pet week, I guess. Like I said, there's not much more to this guy. He does a AoE where he spins his blade on the ground here. It does a big chunk of damage, nothing too crazy. That's the fully armed charge he's using right there. And then there's the interrogation, which puts one of you guys into a containment cell, it's going to be this Demon Hunter here, which he was really late to react, but thankfully we've got a Paladin healer, so we were able to bubble him and then kill the boss. And no loot for me there. A couple times throughout the dungeon you'll see me, I'll ask for loot from people. If they don't need it, I'm going to take it, because frankly, I'm pretty light in gear right now. And so here I am, I'm looking at all the drops in the dungeon right here, and I'm like, oh man, that's really good, that's really good. And even now, I don't actually know, because this is what I was talking. I couldn't even remember if I could tank with one-handed weapons. So that's just a thought. But here I am, I'm looking, hey man, that'd be nice, hey man, that'd be nice. And I'm doing a voiceover again. I was actually streaming at the time, and I was watching the Loot Goblins from OTK, which is hilarious. If you guys haven't seen this one, it was absolutely hilarious. Schlapp being the Loot Goblin was great. This boss is pretty straightforward. That first boss, he does a Grip of Hunger and I'm not very sure what the other ability was. I probably missed it in watching this video back. But other than that, this is pretty easy. It's a 3-part boss. This is the second part. He's like a mech that they started controlling, and he does this purification protocol, which is the one where you do the big ground AoE, and then he also does another one called Venting Anima, or Venting Protocol probably, and he also does this one where it's like a flurry of attacks that you just gotta beat his shield off him. And right there's one of the biggest things you can do, is trying to drop him like dead into a corner of the room. That way the orbs you only gotta watch orbs 3 different ways instead of 4. If you dropped them in the middle of the room, orbs would be absolutely everywhere. This is the last part of the boss. This is actually, I would consider, probably the main boss. She has pretty good abilities. She does one that's Chains of Damnation or whatever. That's what she did on the Paladin right there, and the Paladin freed into it. And then the other one is Whirling Annihilation, which, as you see, that was pretty easy. And I forgot to loot the boss. I see the warrior got that ring. I'm ready to ask, because if you do not need it, I'm gonna take it. And please you guys like and subscribe. Let me know you guys actually like this content, and I'll keep it up. I'm gonna finish the series regardless. But I didn't get the loot. I asked him for the ring because I'm a loot whore, so he needed it. So here I am. This is a really good shot. I thought I'd get you guys leading up to the next boss. This is the commander mini boss, kind of before the last boss. It's pretty important that you put yourself right there, button up against the wall, so that way when he does his power kick move, you don't even move. He can't knock you back if you're already into a wall. So here I do this crazy little roll right here, jump off something. I really didn't even mean to do it. Oh, this is actually a pretty easy part right here. So obviously I take care of this mob. This will be the mailroom boss. I thought this was actually a pretty cool boss for what it was. He has actually some pretty good mechanics. Some of them are pretty hard, some of them are pretty easy, especially after the nerf. A lot of this is pretty easy. So I'm going through killing these post workers and then the mail mantles and stuff like that. But there's a couple small ones that you might not have ever, or that you might have seen and probably had to deal with the chicken mechanic or we're having to do here. They're the defective sorters. They'll open up these tubes that have either a mob, or it'll have them chickens that run around and they interrupt you every 2 seconds, so you can't even get a heal off as a healer. So they're pretty actually important that you get rid of them. And so you can actually stop them from opening the cages if you stun them. So you see right there, he's opening the cage right there. If I were to stun that defective sorter, he would have never opened the chickens. Now, of course, I was a little bit busy. I was watching Loot Goblins, But as you see, chickens are all over the place right now. So I don't think I get stunned anymore. And this is the Postmaster boss. Pretty easy. He's got a couple mechanics. He does a hazard liquid bottle. I think this is a really cool way. In my mind, they were anticipating, kind of like they did Mechagon, to do this as a different season and give actually Mythic Plus to this. But overall, it's been a good dungeon. So, and I really like that because sometimes these fights can go on 3 or 4 phases. That one right there would be I really don't know what it's called, but it's just a stacking mechanic. And then this is the delivery unstable goods. I don't do it in this clip because it was actually, we killed the boss before. And you see I got a huge upgrade. I mean 100 eye level upgrade right there. 160, I think 4 to 262. So it was a great upgrade. Skipped ahead a little bit. Here's my Oasis boss. This is the famous music boss, if you have seen. And I thought this was... One thing I'll say is, during this part of the dungeon, you have to go around and trade with the various traders in the area. And I believe this more to be a tank mechanic here, because if the tank's not taking it, you end up having to pull so many mobs. So not only do you have these cartel lackeys here, which are just, non-elite mobs, they're nothing major, but you have what they call a bizarre strong arm. And they fixate on you, so I can't taunt them off you. So when this healer paladin has picked it up, so the healer paladin can, 1, not heal us, 2, I can't help him defend himself, other than I stunned the guy trying to give the paladin some more room. But the longer you go out, I think the faster that strong arm goes. So here we go. I'm trying to take all the aggro for the cartel lackeys, so the paladin doesn't take any damage. And it seemed like that he took this and had absolutely no idea where he was going. I'm not trying to flame or anything, but he walked all the way around. So I think this is actually going to be a magical weapon. And I didn't go the exact correct way. Don't get me wrong. I should have just turned around and walked right back. But I was kind of thrown for a loop because of the start off here where I didn't have it. But other than that, this part's pretty easy. It's just, as you get up in the hierarchies, you kind of really need to know where all the guys are, because this could easily go from being like a 30-second or a 45-second run back and forth real quick to a 3-minute process, 4-minute process, you know what I mean? And so now the Paladin is trying to see if I could jump on his, I think it was like a touring rocket, like the recruiter friend mount that you can fly on together. And I don't think he understood that I was combat locked, so I can't get on the mount. Because you'll see later on here, he'll ask a really weird question. I didn't really know how to take it. But here I go. I'm trying to get to the alchemist. No, the fine cuisine guy, I think. No, spices. That's what it was. It was spices. So I'm trying to get this guy all the way over here. I trade him that. Now they're going to give us the password to get in. I thought, out of all the bosses in this was probably the lamest. But it has some pretty cool feats. So, like, later on, the big mechanic of this one is you have to pick your instrument up here, and you'll hit these little circles on the ground, and you'll gain a haste buff off it, which that's really good, especially if you're a caster. So I already have a tank who has Keystone Master, and I have a healer that's really, really close. I've just kind of lost the want to heal. So on the Mythic 10 Shrouded FX this season, you get to pick a secondary stat that you want to be increased, whether that be critical strike, mastery, haste, or I think the other one is versatility. A lot of times tanks take versatility just to give them less damage taken. But here, I normally like taking on a healer. I like taking the haste buff. And so on my shaman, when I do this part of the dungeon here, my shaman gets like 30, 40, 50% of haste. Oh, no, I think it's 26% haste, I think, by the time you come to this boss, because this is actually considered to be the 4th boss. And so you get all those infiltrator stacks before you come into this one. And so that comes out to be, I'm telling you, like 22%. And then after all these, buffs here from the guitar riffs that I'm doing, these little circles on the ground, after all those buffs, I think they give you a 30% haste buff on top of that. So then I'm casting as a shaman that normally takes 3 seconds per cast here. I'm doing them in a second and a half, 3/4 of a second, you know what I mean? Whatever global CD is, I'm casting them that quick. And it's cool to see stuff like that because it's not possible in the real life game. You see it in Torghast, but nobody's typically, I don't know how you guys do Torghast, but I do Torghast solo. And so normally you can get some crazy high numbers in Torghast, but Torghast is all solo. So here you are. This is the second part. You got to do another one of these press your button and hit the circles. And I think I've only ever done the drums and the guitar here. But it looks like everything's the same until I played the other day and I played the horn or whatever's in front of the guitar here. But looks like to me a French horn. But this is pretty easy. The hardest thing on this is they cast that. You saw that one guy right there. He was casting Menacing Shout. That actually will interrupt everybody if that cast gets off. And the main boss casts that as well. But overall, this fight's pretty easy. You know what I mean? There's not much to it. I think we're gonna cast here, and I think the boss is next. So I think I'm actually leaned over laughing at loot goblins. It was really hilarious, I thought. And so here comes the actual boss. So I don't have the full haste buff, but I still do have a pretty good chunk of the haste buff. So he does the security slam, which is just I think it's a cone in front of me. He does the menacing shout as well. We interrupt that last second too. So, and then I think he also does one called Suppression Spark, where he goes in the middle of the room. He's actually getting ready to cast it, it looked like. And that's kind of the same thing as the whirling stuff and everything. But instead of all the whole room pulls you in, I think it's just the little circle in front of him. And so as you see there, when that warrior looted, I checked to see, make sure it is in fact plate, because if it wasn't plate, I was gonna ask if he needed it. Like I said, I'm loot hungry right now, so I'm gonna try my best to actually get it if that's what it takes. I'm gonna ask every drop in the dungeon that it looks like I could have that'd be an upgrade. I'll ask you for it. So now we're coming up to I have a hard time remembering this boss's name. Seires, maybe. I think that's what it might be. Seires. And Seires used to be a really no, it's Sol Azimi. Ah man, my pronunciations are suck. Man, I live in the South. This guy was actually pretty hard upon release. I don't know if you guys have played Tazafesh on release. I think it came out in season 2, Mythic Plus, or maybe it was season 3. But this was actually no, it was season 2. So this was actually pretty hard on release. The guy casted a lot more of the circles he puts on the ground just after he'll divide us here, and then he'll drop this circle. I don't actually remember what it's called, but he'll drop it and it'll slowly open up throughout the dungeon or the floor here that we're fighting the boss on. And if you don't go through a portal onto the other side, it could almost not one-shot you, do a whole bunch of damage. And as you see right there, 262 chest. It was an upgrade, but it wasn't anything major because I don't think it's actually, first off, I don't think it's the right stat prio because it's haste mastery, and I think I'm really supposed to do mastery verse. I could be wrong. If anybody knows, I'd be willing to take your answer, but I'm not gonna look it up. Just because, you know, if it's community interaction telling me, hey man, you need versatility, I'll take that knowledge. But as you see, we're knocking this guy out pretty easy. He does a couple mechanics. He summons some bodyguards here. He does this AoE Titan Clash in front of me. These bodyguards defend him or give him extra damage. They do a cast that it goes on him. And then he has another thing called Sanitizing Cycle. We'll get into that later on in this clip here. So he doesn't even cast it on this one here. So you see, man, if that back dropped, I'm already making sure I needed that as an upgrade. Here we go. /P. Hey man, do you need that? You know what I mean? Of course he says yeah. So I didn't get that either. Then this is trash coming up to this next boss. I went ahead and skipped it. Here comes the boss here. Pretty easy. Nothing real major. He does a AoE breath that's one-shots the ads that come off this boat over here. It's actually pretty hard to align if all your guys are back there like that. So I missed that one. They're untauntable, but I'm so used to taunting, I taunted it anyways. So now we are just finishing it up. He cast it one more time. I was too slow to move, so I got hit with the, I guess, the AoE breath kind of thing. Here I am just trying to do a little bit of AoE damage. I really didn't think we needed it, but again, no loot. Somebody else got something. Oh, 2 necklaces dropped. Oh my god, that necklace would have been great for me. So I think no, it's not statted right either. It's haste verse. So, but maybe I'm wanting haste to get my celestial brew back. You know, in the last episode I called it fortifying brew. Fortifying brew is right above my ring of peace, and that's going to be like my big defensive, and I didn't know that at the time. So here we are for the last boss here. Cleared all the trash. Nothing really major on the trash. A couple of them will actually heal themselves to full. This boss, he's got some actually really cool mechanics. He summons these assassins. The assassins are nothing really major. They do one major AoE if you don't kill them down quick enough. And as you see, my keg smash is on cooldown, and it comes off cooldown. Finally got enough energy for it, so now I'm over here trying to provoke these guys to get them back on me. You saw that. That's the big AoE that they do. And here's the actual boss. The boss actually transforms mid-fight, so you almost have like a 2 health bar kind of boss. And you saw it took us so long to take down the assassins that basically the whole team just basically was almost dead. And so I'm over here trying to help the healer out because I know the healer is really trying to, you know, AoE, but it's a paladin, so they've got that. I don't really know how many abilities they got because I've never really healed as a paladin, but I know they've got one for sure, and it's more like a cone in front of them. So back in the day, they used to be able to summon like a little pot, and they used to cast a pot and it would AoE, but I don't know if that's still the case or what. Anyways, the boss is pretty easy. This is about the last mechanic he does, is that energy formations. He also, if you don't kill him quick enough, he'll make you redo this. Oh, this is a really good one right here. Collapsing Star. We don't even do it in this part of the dungeon. But if it would blow up and do a whole bunch of damage to the whole raid if I didn't go in there and knock it down. You'll see it on the next one. But here you go. 2 rings dropped here again. Hey, man, does anybody need the ring? You know what I mean? I guess it almost seems bad because it almost seems like I am begging. But to tell you the truth, I mean, I am begging. It's really nice to get an upgrade that way. You know what I mean? You double the chance, stuff like that. Of course, everybody needed it, so... Here I am going to the second dungeon here. This is actually my first Mythic Plus. And so I did the Gambit because I just did the Gambit, so I felt like this would give me the most refresher. Now, one thing I will tell you guys is when you post a +2, a lot of higher item level guys try to apply because they will get the bonus valor, which I think the bonus valor is like 130 extra bonus valor. And with it being season 4, there's no limit on how much valor you can get. So everybody's just trying to get their best in the slot at upgrade item level 1 or whatever it is. And then just spam a whole bunch of valor into it and upgrade it to level 15. Their actual, what they need, what their best in the slot is. So these packs are pretty easy though. I know I didn't go over in the first clip here. I skipped over the trash. The hardest thing about them is they drop this invigorating fish stick, which is just like a healing tide totem, so it kind of slowly heals everybody around. That's really, they do these leaps, they do these pufferfish ones, and that's what knocks you away. They also enrage too, I believe. I think there's one of them that enrages or makes them enrage. I'm not very sure. Other than that, this is pretty easy. You've got these, the non-elites are super easy to take care of. And then you've also got these giants here. And these giants don't do anything major. These just do a title stomp, which is an AoE, but they have I think double the HP of a regular elite. I'm not very sure. But they're pretty easy. It's just a title stomp that... Oh, and they also throw these rocks. There you go. They also throw the rocks and they're actually more like grenades because they do blow up afterwards. So even if you dodged it and you walked right back onto it, I guess it would blow up. So there's the title stomp. Just an AoE. I do, from what I remember on my warrior, I think you need 51% before you transfer over to the next part. So that way you don't have to have any extra, run back and kill this guy or run back and kill that. But I couldn't remember if that's with the Shrouded buff, because the Shrouded buff gives you probably an extra 3%. So I wanted to make sure I had enough. So I pulled both these packs here, and then I also killed the inside guys. They're pretty easy as well. Nothing major about them. On to the boss. This boss actually has quite a lot more health because of the Tyrannical Weak, rather than that regular Tazavesh. The Druid man was actually really pumping. I think he was actually really high item level. I can't even remember. The Shaman was a lot closer to what mine is. The Warrior's actually pumping too, but he's not much higher than what I am. I guess Fury's gotten a lot better. Pretty easy to see. We got these two guys here. You see now that one is casting the beam on Hillbrand. I'm not very sure on pronunciations. Like I said, I'm from the south. So pretty easy though. This one mechanic is called the sanitizing cycle. You have to run up to that Titan pedestal on the top there, and it'll give you the colors that you need to put down. Pretty easy. They've even made add-ons for it and stuff like that. Pretty easy. You drop your things in here, he gets stunned for a second. Now his immunity's taken away and you can kill him. I think after that we busted him out pretty quick. Other than that's the fight right there, brother. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. I've really been trying to use my orbs better. As I see them come up, I try to use them. That way I have my own kind of healing. Like I was talking about with the Warriors Ignore Pain in episode 2. So now we're just waiting here for RP. Now, same thing, skipped over the trash. All the trash is just a couple people who cast Water Bolt and melee guys who enrage. Kind of the same thing. Missed that last guy right there. Maybe I'm tanking him in a wrong spot. I've just kind of always done this. This boss really isn't too hard. He does this breath mechanic here, and he also does one where he casts something and it makes the ship shoot out like a chain, basically, to hook you and pull you into the boat. You'll see it here soon on the druid, I think. Yeah, the druid's going to get selected here. And, you know, AoE with nothing to do with. Just barely missed it. Here comes the hook out. Right, yep, here it comes. Boom, right on the druid. And so now the druid can't heal me no more. He is solely focused on running away. And boom. That guy's pretty easy. Nothing major. Again, skip the last bit of trash here. Nothing really major. Boss is very easy. This one actually was a lot easier than the regular Mythic one because it seemed like the guys really knew what they were doing better. They killed the ads like they should. But you see, they do so much damage, I can't even get aggro on that one. I mean, I'm trying my best. I ended up having to provoke it. Here comes the star. You know, you're really only supposed to stack up just 2 stacks, but obviously this, you know, druid's way out geared, so it didn't matter how many stacks we had. So I went ahead and did the last stack there after the debuff dropped off. And now we just wait for his transformation. But again, got so much HP because of Tyrannical Week. At this level, they just have a lot more HP. They don't do a lot of damage yet. The damage really comes in probably 6, probably a +6. The damage really scales up high because you're giving them, you know, I think at a +6, you're doing 50% extra health and damage. And then on top of Tyrannical, you're doing, you know, an extra 75% damage. I can't really remember the statistics. But here you go. Everybody does their first jolts right. So, boom, right back on the guy here. But pretty easy. He'll do this energy fragmentation. And I think I'm trying to get the shaman to hero because it'd be nice to have it. Kind of the reason I took him. And he doesn't hero for a while, so, but it's still real biggie. So he cast that collapsing star again. I think the druid's kind of learned his lesson, so we're only doing 2 stacks of it. Or actually, he only did 1 stack, and then I think now we'll do 2 stacks. Yep. Well, I guess he just had a really far walk, so he didn't get 2 stacks. We got 2 stacks at the end. But other than that, pretty easy to fight again. You know, this is all about learning, and I can tell you all about, like, warriors and shamans, because those are the 2 classes I've played the most about. And I've had a level 50 monk before, but I was mainly using them for BFA's mission board to gain some gold. So it's really fun to actually sit down and learn a class again. But this kind of marks the end of the episode here. I just want to tell you guys, thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you guys for liking who have, and thank you guys for subscribing for the people who have as well. It really means the world to me. Thank you. Bye.